Good morning, good afternoon, and good evening, everybody. Thank you for tuning into another Supatease video. We've got a round of 10.0.5 PTR class change updates, the most recent ones, hot off of the presses. Some classes are getting the most overpowered abilities I have yet to see in Dragonflight, so it's going to be quite a doozy to read through these and talk about their implications with the meta and which classes could be rising to the top as a result of them. And they've been doing a fantastic job of ongoing, consistent changes. This is something the community has requested for quite a long time, and I'm very happy to see it here now implemented in Dragonflight, just kind of like the icing on the cake. We don't have the Battle for Azeroth mansion on a sand scenario going on. We got the mansion and we got that solid foundation as well. I am greatly impressed, but let's get started here. We got some changes for Boomkin. Astro Communion, in addition to its active effect, is now also going to passively increase your astral power by 20. This is a really good bonus for this spell in PvP because it means we're going to be able to pool up more Starfalls and Star Surges to chain in a row, which is really important to increase their effective damage. So cannot complain about that. However, the talent rearrangement for Boomkin is going to be a nerf in PvP, given that we're going to lose powerful talents for lesser and weaker performing talents currently, with no way of kind of altering that, even despite the most recent iteration they made to the talents. This is a nice kind of like, okay, something, but I'm not sure if it's going to be enough on its own, but I'm curious to play it through. For Resto Druid, we're seeing new talent, Forest's Flow. Nourish extends the duration of your Life Bloom, Rejuve, Regrowth, and Wild Growth effects on the targets by 2 seconds. The choice node with Wild Synthesis. Very curious to see if they make Nourish a build. I personally don't want them to. I don't like having the extra keybind. I actually just got rank 1 Resto Druid in solo queue. Follow me at my stream. It's linked down below if you'd want to watch some gameplay. I'm going for number 1 position on all Druid specs. It's going to be a wild undertaking considering the roles are so dramatically different, especially my experience with Feral. But I don't really like having Nourish as an extra keybind, so yeah. So now the talent it's also going to compete with, Wild Synthesis, Regrowth decreases the cast time of your next Nourish by 25% and causes it to receive an additional 25% bonus from Mastery, the choice node with Forest's Flow. Interesting. Wild Synthesis sounds more fun than the extend your hots on the target, just giving you a really fast Nourish, kind of similarly to how it was in Wrath of the Lich King, when Nourish was a fun ability to press. I'm somewhat on the side of the fence where I'd almost rather Nourish replaces Regrowth just because I don't want an extra keybind. That's just how badly I don't want an extra keybind. This could make Nourish crazy. This certainly could. I'm on the bias side of I hope that it doesn't because I really don't want another keybind, but could definitely make it crazy. Moving down here into Monk, fixed a lot of bug issues. With Feline Stomp, it also has a 100% increased chance to spawn circles within its arc. So changes towards Feline Stomp, a lot of buffs towards Monk here. Awakened Feline and Ancient Concordance now linger for 8 seconds after leaving the Feline Stomp, so you'll carry their benefits. Shayloon's Gift has also received some additional changes. Its healing has been buffed 15%. It now stacks to a maximum of 10 clouds, was previously 12. Now triggers the Mastery, Gust of Mist on all targets hits, and now costs 3.5% base mana down from 4.5, and will now prioritize its primary target for healing. So prioritizing healing, mana cost reductions, Feline effects carrying forward, going to be really beneficial for the Fist Weaving build of Monk. Rising Mist now extends Renewing Mist applied by Rapid Diffusion. Vivify is now going to cost 0.4% less mana. I don't know how much of a big impact it's going to have on you. Invoke Yulon. The Jade Serpent now reduces the cost of Enveloping Mist by 50%, was previously 33%. Likely it's going to be seeing a lot more play if mana is a problem for Mistweaver. Echoing Reverberation now only requires Enveloping Mist to trigger an additional Zen Pulse. Was Enveloping Mist and Renewing Mist, and Zen Pulse now triggers your Mastery. So a lot of synergies to existing talents that didn't have synergies with your baseline stats. Really good changes overall for Mistweaver. I still think making the Fist Weaving healing a smart heal so it heals the lowest health target is going to need to be more of a priority if we see Fist Weaving ever become prevalent. For Brewmaster, new abilities. Always got to keep an eye out here on the tanks every once in a while because you never know when something sneaks by and like, oh. So let's see what's going on. Spirit of the Ox, your Rising Sun Kick and Blackout Kick have a chance to summon a Healing Sphere. Stagger is now a baseline ability for the Brewmaster specialization. Quick Sip now purifies 5% of damage delayed by Stagger. It was 2%. Gift of the Ox is now a rank 1 talent, was rank 2. Grateful Exit is now a rank 1 talent, was 2. Quick Sip is now also a rank 1 talent, was 2, as well as Staggering Strikes. So trying to equalize the tanks when it comes to PvE competition is definitely the aim here. I don't see anything really towards its damage output that would likely make it a competitive option in PvP any more than it already is. But just trying to even it out with the existing tanks in PvE. Now for Paladins, Tyr's Deliverance is getting a significant buff to 25%. Curious if this does, make enough to make people play and use it, as it is quite a slow cast. After Image no longer triggers Awakening or Divine Purpose. Gonna need some Paladins to chime in here on what After Image is here, because I'm not 100% on that. The fact that it no longer triggers it makes me think that this is a pretty big nerf, right? Because Awakening and Divine Purpose are procced healing effects. So I would assume that this is a nerf. Avenging Crusader can now trigger and consume Divine Purpose. Holy Paladin's biggest strength right now has been the Avenging Crusader, so anything oriented to that is going to be a delight to see. And I don't see the Blessing of Winter anymore, mana regen. I think that maybe that must be on an older version and not on the most recent round of changes, but that mana regen change that was covered earlier is definitely a big deal. For Priest, a new talent, Sanguine Teachings, 3% leech on a choice node against Vampiric Embrace. Don't know why you would want that or need that. Vampiric Embrace is no longer on the global cooldown, giving some fast acting utility. Sand Lane now also causes Sanguine Teachings to grant an additional 2% leech. What are you trying to do here with the leech, man? Are you trying to turn Shadow Priest into a Demon Hunter? Because I don't know if 5% is enough. Manipulation can now be triggered by Discipline's Power Word Solace and Mind Blast, and Shadow's Mind Flay and Mind Flay Insanity. So again, just synergizing existing abilities with more of the baseline kit of the class is really good in terms of creating more viable builds. For Psychic Link, it's now also going to be functioning with Mind Game, splitting the damage onto multiple targets, as well as Void Bolt and Void Torrent. This is yet to be implemented. This could make this talent a lot more desirable, especially at like AoE burst, depending on how much damage these abilities ends up doing in the final build. So very curious to see how it plays out. And finally, we're getting to the class that I really wanted to talk about, Rogue. Rogue is getting the most crazy thing I've ever seen. But now Feint is baseline. Going to open up more talent options. Elusiveness and Cheat Death. This is now a choice node that has been moved up to row 2, taking the position of Feint used to be. So you have to pick between the two rather than getting both, I believe, that you can get. New talent, Unbreakable Stride passive. This is just going to reduce the duration of movements and snaring effects by 30%. Sepsis now will grant one use of a stealth ability immediately in addition to its previous effect, and fix an issue that prevented Garrote's cooldown removal from taking effect when casting Garrote using Sepsis's stealth ability effect. So some bug fixes, trying to maybe bring in their tankiness in line, but what is going to make them crazy is the Assassination Rogue changes. King's Bane is moved, now shares a location with Dragon Tempered Blades as a choice node. Dashing Scoundrel now costs a maximum of 2 points down from 3, and right here, this is the money. I cannot believe this. This might be the most crazy talent ever to come into the game. Arterial Precision. It's a passive. Your Shiv is now going to strike 4 additional nearby enemies, increase your bleed damage to the target by 20%, and in PvP will provide a sharpened blade, healing reduction, AoE. This is crazy, absolutely crazy for the power of Assassination. You've got to keep your eyes out on that change specifically. Killing Spree now reduces the damage taken by 65% while active, so adding some damage reduction portions to Killing Spree. Not that I really think Outlaw needed really much survival help, but interesting kind of take on that ability now and its possible use in the future. Fan the Hammer's additional pistol shots now generate 1 fewer combo points, PvE affecting you in PvP here with that nerf. For Subtlety, Invigorating Shadow Dust now reduces affected cooldowns by 15 to 30 seconds, up from 10 to 20. Man, you are getting some serious cooldown reduction. But wait, never mind. It got nerfed by 50% in PvP right after. I was thinking, oh my god, that's a crazy buff. But then it's actually a nerf from where it was before. Feels bad to be a Subtlety Rogue. I think you time to re-roll. I think it's time to be Assassination. For Shaman, Mana Spring Totem is now just going to be a passive rather than a keybind. I really think there was a lot of extra keybinds in the Shaman tree, so I'm not surprised to see this. you honestly didn't need mana regen in PvP, so like you're still not going to take it even if it's not a keybind, but it's there. For Demonology, Fellstorm, Guillotine, and Demonic Strength now place one another on cooldown. Fellstorm is going to place Guillotine and Demonic Strength on a 5-second cooldown. This should have no impact on Demonology's overall throughput. This change exists to help alleviate confusion on when the Fel Guard is able to cast Fellstorm, Guillotine, or Demonic Strength by providing a visual tell through the UI. I noticed this playing my Demonology Warlock. I'll be like, hey, why can't I empower? I don't understand what's going on. It's not working. And it's because it's casting an already existing spell. So just some changes there to assist with that. And oh my goodness, Destrolock, what's going on with you? Ashen Remains now causes Chaos Bolt, Incinerate, and Shadow Burn to deal 5 to 10% increased damage dealt to targets affected by Immolate. Eradication is now going to cause Chaos Bolt and Shadow Burn to increase the damage you deal to the target by 10%. And Burn the Ashes now causes Chaos Bolt, Rain the Fire to increase the damage of your next 2 Incinerates by 15 to 30%. And Shadow Burn to increase the damage of your next Incinerate by 15 to 30%. These are big buffs to Destro. Destro and Assassination got some serious W's here, moving into 10.0.5 with this most recent round of changes. For Arms Warrior, Sweeping Strike's going to last a little bit longer. Kind of meh. Ooh, improved Mortal Strike removed from the tree. That might be an ouchie. And now, in its place, Strengthen Arms Overpower. Ooh. Has a 10% increased critical strike chance on enemies below 35. Ooh. Overpower generates 8 rage. Okay. Ooh. Still kind of... Fatal Mark duration increased to 120 seconds, up from 60. And Storm of Swords causes Whirlwind to cost 20 more rage, down from 30. So overall, I feel like right now Arms Warrior's main builds have been around Mortal Strike and not Overpower. So this direct funnel away from it to that could be a real serious problem for their damage output. Let's see if Fury Warrior is getting anything redeemed here in this recent round of patch notes. Onslaught damage has been increased by 40% and now generates 30 rage. Tenderize now causes Enrage to last 2 seconds longer, was 1 second. Storm of Steel now reduces Ravager damage by 10%, was 40, and Rage granted increased to 20, up from 15. Frenzied Flurry increases auto attack damage with one-handed weapons by 30%, was 5%. One-handed they said in the release that they didn't, it was there for cosmetic choices. It was going to be inferior, but I would assume that it's still going to be the case even with that buff. Unbridled Ferocity. Onslaught now triggers Recklessness in addition to Rampage. Really nice. Storm of Swords now increases Whirlwind damage by 80%, up from 70. And Anger Management will also reduce the cooldown of Ravager. With this update, we're looking to increase the effectiveness of talents that are seeing less use. The dangers of this approach right here for all classes is that classes that maybe talents you maybe don't want to play or aren't desirable in PvP might be getting significant buffs to the point where you have to play them or your spec becomes more inferior, which could be really frustrating, and vice versa, right? That Astral Communion change is likely to try and increase its viability in PvE, where it's already the strongest option in PvP, which just double benefits it, but could have some dangers in terms of balancing overall for the game. I do like that they made some counteracting PvP changes, like with the Subtlety Rogue here, specifically. So as long as they stay on top of that and keep it consistent, then it's probably not going to be a problem, but they're doing it with so many and so often that you're going to really have to be paying attention to your talent trees, paying attention to the updates that are coming through, and the best way to do that is going to be to hit the subscribe button so you know when these videos are coming out live and you're staying ahead of the curve. Other than that, thank you very much for watching the video, and I will catch you in the next one.